This is the Phantom, and we're here on the Convention Center floor at 2012 Bowl Expo in Reno, Nevada. And I'm here with my sidekick, Jim Dressel. This is our third year, Jim? Third?
It seemed like 50, but third.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Every year we interview 15 to 20 top celebrities, makers, shavers, movers, cakers. We interview all kind of people here. And who do we have here this week? The great Parker Bohn. Parker, thanks for coming.
Well, thank you very much, Phantom.
And I'm here to ask you. Everybody knows you as a Pro Bowler, a 32-time PBA champion, by the way. Did I get that right, by the way?
You sure did. You didn't miss a number.
Great. And now he's got a new role with Brunswick. So would you mind explaining a little bit about that?
Well, earlier this month I became one of the new product specialists for Brunswick. My territory will be mainly the East Coast, Northeast, but that's not to say that it will not transcend down to the East Coast and for that matter around the country and even throughout parts of the world. Unlike my good friend Johnny, who drives everywhere, I'm willing to get on a plane and go fly. And in a nice way, I'll just say that I hope it takes a little bit of the load off of his shoulders, and then I can be in places that, well, let's say he can't get to for a few days.
You know, Parker, I got to tell you, I was out there doing the lanes for 800 tournaments over a period of about 22 years off and on. And I ran into all kind of individuals, roommates that I loved to death, and some of the relationships you make on the tour are just awesome. And I got to say that probably every one of my good friends is involved in bowling. But having that insight and that exposure, I got to tell you, you were one of the greatest guys, besides being a bowler, that was out there. I had roommates throw knives at me. You never even gave me a dirty look. How did you maintain such a positive outlook?
Maybe it was some of those tour checks I threw your way on some of those good weeks. Well, all right, no, that wasn't the case. But, I got to be honest. As much as I understand and respect my job on and off the lanes, I also, Lenny, respect your job and all the work that you did on and off the lanes. Your job, honestly, is, I'll say, non-thankful in so many ways. Because everybody is the first to fess up a complaint, but nobody's the first one to stand in line and say, hey, thanks, Lenny. That was great this week. Or they really seemed like they were fair or they were equitable. We all know that there are things that are out of all of our control. And you as a lane man, and I'm going to say one of the best lane men that we've ever had on the PBA Tour, and that's no disrespect to all the past ones or the future ones, but you are trying to give your best educated opinion of what's going to happen or what your outlook is for that week. And, I tip my hat off for you for doing that. And sometimes it turned out perfect, and sometimes, obviously, we all know in the real world it doesn't turn out exactly the way that we were hoping it would.
Well, I wasn't expecting those kind of plaudits, but my main question was, how did you maintain such a great attitude?
I'll say it's a humbling experience. I grew up a long time ago learning from my mother and my father, who I cherish and love to death, and fortunately they're both still around me as I speak. But they instilled in me that you take every waking moment for what it has to offer, and there is something to be learned by everything that happens. You take the good with the bad. If something bad happens, there's a reason for it. Learn by it and become a better person because of it. And I've just kept that open-minded feature to everything and anything that I do.
There was an occasion when you wanted to throw a rusty knife at, Lenny, or curse a little bit, or...
Oh, I can't say that I haven't let out one or two of those obscenities along the way.
Thank goodness. I couldn't believe you were perfect.
Oh, no, I'm not perfect by any means. And, my good friend Jason Couch, who I roomed with for almost 10 years out on tour, who Lenny obviously knows great, we've let some things go around, but on an overall basis, there was something to be learned by it. And we talked about those things when we were back in the confines of our room, that we could talk and share those moments there was something that we were both going to learn by it.
Jason, he was Rookie of the Year in 1992. First year I met him. And you'd already been out there on the tour for, 7 years?
Yeah, I was out there for quite a few years at that point.
And I know you taught him a lot. You took him under your wing. You showed him the ropes. And I just read recently that he's going to retire himself and do similar things that you are.
You know, it's funny how that, I'll say, coin flipped to the other side there for both of us at the same time. But the opportunity was given to him by his company, and I'm really thankful for that. And I'm really feeling, I'll say, nothing but good vibes from my good friend Jason. It's opening a new door. It's opening a new experience. But I will say it, at this moment in time, we are both rookies into a new field of bowling.
So you're going to beat him to death, right?
Well, I'm going to try to. I mean, we've both got that competitive nature, but we're going to continue to have that competitive nature once again off the lanes, working in a competitive nature that we can still be good friends down the road.
Yeah. You guys were just awesome roommates, and it's kind of funny because you could play outside, up, inside. He loved inside. He could play them all, but you guys were two of the best of all time, and I saw them all, Pards, trust me.
Well, you know, we appreciate that. We both do, but we both wanted to be one notch better than where we currently were, and we both understood that the practice ethic that went along that way to make yourself better. You know, Jason and me have talked about it endlessly. You're not going to get good by sitting on the bench and complaining or politely looking at the lane man and saying, hey, you know, how about my time? Or when are you going to do this for me? Why don't you wake up and go look yourself in the mirror, pal, and say, why don't you put some time and effort on the lane? Why don't you make yourself a better player? And then it doesn't matter what the guy that's pushing the button or how he does the lanes is going to do. Because if you play the game to the best of your ability, it doesn't matter what's past that foul line. You will figure out a way to overcome it and stand tall.
Well, you couldn't have blamed the equipment, for example, because, you know, you have 32 titles, as I mentioned earlier, with one company.
Yeah, fortunately for me, everything's been with Brunswick, obviously. And, you know, it's been a great ride, and I look forward to an even better ride throughout the next, hopefully, 20 years or so that I'll be continuing to work for the company. But everybody goes through high points and low points. And I'll say the high points are great, but to get to those high points, you have to work through the low points. You have to figure out what it is you need to do, little incidental changes or I'll say a minor subtle change or major change along the way that's going to make you turn into be a top-notch player.
You know, Parker, being a student of the game, I used to watch the practice sessions, and I didn't sleep very much when I was on the tour because I wanted to watch everybody bowl. But I'll never forget one tournament, a practice session where each squad had about an hour and a half to practice, and Parker was down there practicing, and I looked over, and he's throwing at the 7-pin. And the next ball came back, he threw at the 7-pin. Threw like 10 in a row at the 7-pin. I wondered, what's all this about? So I went down. You may not remember this. I says, how come you're throwing only at the 7-pin? You said, I missed one last week.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I definitely do. You can't give pins away to the Wolves. And when you miss what I'm going to say is a relatively easy 1-pin spare, my God, you're giving many pins away to everybody else. And there's nothing that aggravated or got under me more, under my skin, than missing a 1-pin spare. Anybody can chop a spare, and unfortunately things are going to happen where you're going to leave a pocket split or go through the nose and leave that unforeseen split that you weren't planning for. But when you give an unforced error away, a 1-pin spare, 10 pins away to somebody else or the rest of the field, you are literally throwing money away down the street and let it go down the river.
What was the one tournament where if you had a do-over, you would like to do it over? I mean, was there one where you made a key mistake somewhere along the line, or did something, maybe made an adjustment or a ball switch or whatever that, I shouldn't have done it that way?
That I could look at a handful of different tournaments when I finally learned how to bowl the proper way on TV. My big thing was the 7th frame. The 7th frame, for whatever the reason, I was going to go through the nose and leave a split, and it was going to be my own fault. And if I look back at a couple of my TV shows early on in my career, I'd like to get some of those back now. But there's a learning experience by it. Unfortunately for me, I did learn along the way. And I was able to turn those 7th frame jitters into 7th frame wonders that turned into many a titles down there, through the course of time.
Yeah, we do learn from the mistakes, don't we?
Yes, we do.
If we don't, we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Well, the guys that don't, unfortunately, still keep trying to get there, can't figure out how to get the job done. And as great a player as they are, they still have not opened up that one piece of their mind or that one little eyebrow that says, I should try this.
You know, Parker, our stage manager, who is also the president of the Bowling Writers Association, Joan Romeo. I'm sure you know Joan.
Oh, I know Joan very, very well.
Joan knows everybody. When she talks, E.F. Hutton listens. But she told me to ask you about this ball promotion thing that you and Sean Rash are involved with. So what's all that about?
Well, you know, throughout the years, I've had the fortunate pleasure of doing some things with the International Bowling Museum and Hall of Fame. And obviously they moved it down to Texas there in Arlington, which is really good because now it's in-house with the USBC and everything else that goes on with BPAA as well. But Sean Rash signed a ball a little bit earlier this year. And unfortunately, I wasn't around when he signed the ball because he signed it not long after the Tournament of Champions when they handed him a nice fat check and a big trophy to go along with it. But at that moment in time, he signed a ball, donating it for them to do a raffle to a worthy cause. And fortunately, I'm going to sign the same exact ball, and we're going to put that up here for bid. And all the proceeds are going to go to the International Bowling Museum, Hall of Fame, and Museum.
Awesome. So one of our listeners or viewers out there, how are they going to know how to bid on this?
Personally, I think they're going to have to get a hold of you personally. They're not going to let you know?
I don't know how it's going to work. Where's Joan? We got to ask Joan how it's going to work, right?
We'll have to get Joan to get an update on that one.
Okay, we will. Joan, we have a question for you. We were talking about the bowling ball that Sean and Parker have autographed.
Right.
Is there an opportunity for our listeners or viewers to be involved in this auction?
At first we wanted to include everybody, but I didn't know who would be ready to accept the donations and then when we could actually raffle it off. So we decided to limit it to the people that are here at Bowl Expo, and anybody can come over and make a donation, and we'll take their names and then we'll raffle it off at the end of the day tomorrow.
Well, there's your answer.
Well, there we go. So if you happen to not be here in the wonderful city of Reno at Bowl Expo, everyone knows someone. So make sure you get on the horn and put in your bid and get a hold of your best friend who may be helping you through another friend, and your bid can stand tall right here, right now.
So we want them to come to this booth, which is number 371 over here by that bowling lane that makes a lot of noise.
Hey, that handicap tournament I bowled, they gave me 71 pins, so that was that 371 game that, well, maybe not.
Awesome.
Okay, this is the BWAA radio booth.
It's the BWAA radio booth over by the bowling lane, stall number 381.
371.
371.
We're like a comedy team here.
My goodness, boy, it's a good thing you were oiling the lanes, not moving 2 and 1.
Well, you know what happens to old lane men or old bowlers that can't strike? They become lane men. Jim, you got anything more for Parker?
I was never in that situation, so I wouldn't worry about it if I was me. And I am me, so, you know, we'll move right along. Any final comments, Parker, while you're here with us today?
Well, you know, probably the biggest thing is that here at Bowl Expo, obviously I see a lot of friends and some fans, obviously, that I don't get a chance to see throughout the year. But the biggest thing is the fact that I appreciate you opening your arms and allowing me to come on board and speak along your speaker system here and be a part of the Phantom Radio. You know, it's been a great ride so far. I hope that it continues. I know there's listeners out there. I get asked all the time, well, when are you going to be eligible for the senior tour? For those of you that are interested, it's July 13th, not this year, but next year I turn 50. So a little bit more than a year, and yes, I will participate on a vast majority, if not all, of the senior tour events.
That'll be great.
Well, I knew he didn't look old enough now, but so we'll anxiously await that arrival.
I'll certainly look forward to it.
Every year or two, he cuts his mustache off, and he gets about 4 years younger. I don't get it.
I was trying to get 10 more years on the regular tour off by doing that. So
I can't even do that by cutting my eyebrows. What the heck?
All right, Parker, we know you got a lot to do. You're involved with Brunswick here, and best of luck with this new venture of yours. I know you're still going to bowl the tour, and you'll still be a threat. So continued success We love you, buddy.
Well, Phantom, thank you very much.
Don't
Jim,
be a stranger.
thank you.
All right.
I won't.